All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Monday Night Football Showdown show here on the Mayo Media Network. We got the collaboration with the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. You guys got to get over there as well, but subscribe here, like on the way in. No like spots, please. We want the real deal, so let's try and get the likes rolling again today. Yesterday was hilarious on the Sunday show with our guy Ham filling in for Hoop. Hoop, of course, is back. Going to be talking all things Cincinnati at Jacksonville. Interesting slate. I like this one quite a bit, actually, because I think it's just automatic what people assume is going to happen, and I think some other stuff could go the other way, but we'll get into it as usual, breaking all things down at the captain spot, roster construction, breaking down position by position, do a little FanDuel, and then, of course, at the end, we will have the Sim segment where you guys can give your scores, and we'll run them out over at Run the Sims. If you guys want to check it out, go to runthesims.com, use the promo code SHIPIT, gets you 10% off a membership of your choice. Hoopster, you're back in the booth, man. I got to bring you in first. You're alive and kicking. Barely, it sounds like, but you're here. Had a pretty fun weekend by the sounds of things. Your Lions got the W. Made them look good once again. They're back on the map. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Yeah, what's the song? Still alive but barely breathing? That's Hoopster right now. Hoopster's in rough shape. It was a long weekend in New Orleans, but back in the saddle. I think I maybe slept like 2-3 hours over the course of Friday, Saturday night. Got a decent bit of sleep last night, but when you're almost hitting that 40 number, it's a couple more days to get fully recouped. So I'm working on that, but you might be kicking me out of town a little more often after your performance yesterday. You might have to say, Hoopster, step aside, get out of town. I got some business to take care of. Big win last night, $100,000 and PGA success as well. I mean, woo, love to see that, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. And don't forget MMA in the streets. My boy Title right here. Him and Marley had me geared up. Like, that's the best part of this. First off, I do want to say, because I know everyone's saying it in the chat right now, so I'll move it quick. Not going to live in that. I always say nobody cares, work harder. That counts for the wins as well. I know you guys are all coming for me starting tonight, so I got to stay on top. But I do appreciate everybody that reached out. It's always something, just to see. I'm very grateful to be able to get to do what I do, passionate about this niche that we're in, the small space and fantasy sports, being able to talk about it daily, helping people out. Love what I do. So thank you to everyone. But yeah, Hoop said it, and Title, I'll bring you in a sec. But I mean, I don't even have that one. Saturday night, I put Title and Marley's cores together, read the slate plan Title put up in the rankings, built out a nice lineup there, had some success, went with golf. This wasn't even going to play it. Our guy Lee posts in there, here's the course fit rankings for the week.
Yeah, speaking of that, I got to intervene real quick because I told you I was playing this slate, and I had a couple live teams going into Sunday. You're like, why the hell are you playing this slate? Blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, you sneak in that little screenshot on Sunday.
Well, when Lee wants to bring the gear, and this is going to be a fun upcoming PGA season, we're already excited. There's a lot of other new stuff. Got some stuff collaborating with Andy Lack on the Wednesday night show. Going to have the first look show with Degenerate 75. There's lots of good partnerships we got coming for a great PGA season, but Lee's going to be a big part of that. He just throws this in, says, I know we're not officially covering. It's a 20-man event. Here's some course fit rankings. I literally plugged in the first 6 that you can fit, end up winning the King of the Desert seat. We had our guy, B-Wald, is King of the Desert bound now. He's got a seat as well. By the way, he's giving away a free membership today. We got 6 monthly memberships to give away. So we're going to have to get busy on that. If you want to throw in the chat why you want the membership, what it means to you, you can throw that into the chat now. And then JP Perdames, he used the same team. He must have used the same rankings, like it's 661.5, exact same score. So when I win, it's awesome, but it's great to have the members come along with. And then, of course, had the 109K day, 9th place in the Millie, 55, won the bomb for the second time in 35 days. Very thankful for that. If you guys want to see that, I'm not going to do it on the show here, but you can go check out the review show Nades and I did this morning. It's within the first 10 minutes. Literally just used the exact slate plan our guy Ham put up on the site and was able to go hand build some lineups out against that and find a good one to get the job done there. Ham filling in for Hoop yesterday. Had some Ham on Hoop violence, but he did an incredible job. So some fun stuff while the Hoopster was out of town. Lots of other big winners on our Twitter right now. Any members, this is for members only, but can go repost it, like, and then quote or reply hashtag SHIPIT on our Twitter. Make sure you follow as well, and you'll be in the draw for a hoodie and a hat. So members only, a little fun for the members. Title, bring you in, man. Fun week ahead. But if you didn't get there yesterday, like I always tell everybody, it's only so far, right? We still got tonight. I think you and I are going to like this slate quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But first of all, yeah, congrats to you, Tambo. Awesome stuff. I was sweating you in the millie. I'm not in the $55 bomb, but I saw you up there. So it's awesome to see you at that team in other places. And you were sweating out the stat corrections. That's how you know you've been doing this time, because you got to wait till they pay out. No stat corrections do it. Not even I wait sometimes that long, because I haven't been in the tournament streets as long as you. I haven't been burned like that, but plenty people have.
Yeah, I don't know, not to cut you off real quick, but you remember that NBA season when it was the beginning of the year and something was so off where it was like the stat corrections weren't like fractional points or a couple points. It was like 5 to 6 point swings. Like it was the craziest. Like you had no idea where you're at until like 2 hours after the slate fully locked. That was wild.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do try and be nice about it too, Title. I know you were in there because you congratulated me to it. I
saw Rams D. That's the only one I did it. When Rams D got the safety and the points went up there, and everything looked good, but still, it was so marginal too.
So the thing is, this $55 bomb, again, very fortunate to get this thing twice in the last 35 days because it's so top heavy. It's $100K. Last time the drop was to 25. But I had it pretty much clear. That one I was up by like 4 points. I'm not like what Hoop mentioned, that basketball season was nuts. I remember it. But this yesterday was 0.6. We had third place cleared by almost 10 though. So, but the difference was 100 to 15. So I'm just a superstitious guy. I apologize. I'm also very direct. I can't in the chat. I just said, guys, like chill. We got to wait and see. I've been burned by this before. Please, I appreciate it. I do. But let's just wait a second and see what happens. And of course, FanDuel didn't even pay out to like almost halftime of the Sunday Night Football game. So I was like, oh, come on, please. But in the end, we got it. Thank you so much. Sorry to cut you off, Pat. I just want to say that was a moment of like, I just need everyone just to be patient for a second, but that's more my superstition.
Well, no, but at the end of the day, I mean, we came back to Hoop like 3 weeks ago, his big one with Dak, and he was near the top, didn't take first. And he was like, did I run good or run bad? I don't know. First place, 100K. Second place, 15K. Like that is night and day when you play the volume, high stakes like that. So like you need at 0.7, it means everything. I mean, it could be a losing day for the week, for the next couple days if you take second, which that's just the volume it is. So yeah, no, props to you. Big congrats, first place. Hoop, hope you had a lot of fun. Sounds like you did, and big money up top tonight. And yeah, you mentioned it, Tambo. It's very similar. I mean, you just had Seattle, Dallas. Spread was pretty similar. Everyone wanted to go Dallas. Seattle was live. I mean, more than live, they absolutely balled out.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher to see today, but Tambo, I'm on the same side with you. Like, we know what everyone's going to do. Jaguars D, like, load up the Jags. Bengals can't get it done. So can definitely exploit the field when you win, how much you win. So I'm going to be probably right there next to you.
Yeah, I love that call. And like you said, that's part of it. 500K up top tonight over on DraftKings. Some other big prizes around the industry. Real quick, and we'll round this out and get right to Hoop's grand scheme overview. But reminder of the Ship It Nation YouTube station. I think that we had the link up there earlier. It takes 2 seconds. If you guys can just do us a favor, even if you just pause the video, hit the like, whatever it might be. If you're watching this on playback, go over and subscribe. We are on the drive for 5, as you can see, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before Christmas. We're only 250 away, just under 250 away now, I think. So if you guys can do us that favor and go over and subscribe, we're going to give away an annual membership. The $5.99 big boy is what we're going to be giving away. So here's the front page of the site. We've got the weekly option if you guys want to check us out. Remember, no Discord comes with that. More on the monthly in a second. If you found out that this is the place for you and you want to get in, you can join for 6 months and save another $10 a month. If you want to join the annual, you can get in for as little as $49 a month at $5.99. But this is going to be the big boy that we're giving away, a 1-year membership, which includes everything: NFL, NBA, PGA, MMA, NHL, MLB, everything that comes with that. And then, of course, just being a part of the community. But the last thing right here, just Tambo clause, call it what you want to call it. We came up with this. We said, you know what? As a way to give back, there's lots of people on the sidelines that are looking to get in, find their home, find their community. You can get in right now with promo code TRY20. It gets you $20 off your first payment of any option. So if you have decided the 6 month of the year is for you, you can apply it to that. But most people looking to try out just the first month, we realize that you can use the promo code TRY20 and get this price down to $49, which is only $25 more. And then you get the Discord and you get a full month. So check it out. We're going to get to things. We're going to get to run the sims later on, but Hoopster, get you in first, man. Your thoughts. This game, title said it. People are doing it. We're going to get the chat later too, by the way. Chat is 0 for 2 in breaking down how these games play out. So we're going to try 3 since we started and get a W for the chat. But how do you see this game playing out? Cincy, Jacksonville, 40-point total. Jags favored by 10 at home.
Yeah. Just real quick on the subscription and the try 20 code. I mean,
Yep.
It's tough nowadays in this industry to not have something. Like even the top players, like you look at guys that are at the top of the leaderboards in these contests, the guys that are maxing out, the guys that are playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars a weekend, all those guys subscribe somewhere just to, have something to start their process with, something to look at. And, the reason behind our price tag on our product is to give the little guys an opportunity to get a taste of the content, and more importantly, to be a part of a community and a support system. So that's why our prices are always going to be very low, lower than everyone in the industry. And we're giving you $20 off to try it. I mean, $49 for the month. And it's not like one of those things we want people to sign up and think, hey, you're automatically going to win on day one. That's not what this is all about. Automatically win on day 2. That's not what this is all about. It's part of your process, being involved in the community, things like that. So it's not a get rich type scheme. It's it's a necessity essentially in this industry to have something. And our commitment, our company value statement basically is, hey, we're going to provide an all encompassing product for the cheapest all-in price in the industry. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. In terms of this game here, it's very predictable what people are going to do. I mean, Jaguars heavy for sure. Jaguars defense will be highly owned. The thing with the Jaguars guys is, to some degree, they've all had pretty monstrous games this season. We've seen Trevor Lawrence back-to-back weeks finally get things going. We've made the joke on the show, Mr. 15 fantasy points, and was right for a long time. I mean, we said it basically since like week 3, we were calling him Mr. 15. He was right around 15 fantasy points. And then he starts going off the last 2, and we were on him though. That's the best part about it. We had the joke, but we got on him because we liked the spot. He's going to be popular. ETN has had some monster games. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley's had monster games. Evan Ingram somehow still has not found the end zone. Did he have one called back last week, or is wide open? I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was close to getting one. Good price tag for him, cheap. Now the big question is, what do you do with the Cincinnati side of things? In terms of like captain plays and things like that, they're not going to have much ownership. The ownership just discrepancy between Jaguars captains and Bengals captains going to be pretty substantial today because they have this Browning guy at quarterback. I think Jamar Chase is a very interesting talking point in a trailing game script. Joe Mixon had a solid game last week. So I think the big thing is it's always, what you do in that captain spot. And in a game like this, what do you do with that defense, that Jaguars defense that's going to be popular? That's the one position that in these games where teams are favored by so many, you really see that number tick up. And then these fringe, like backup type quarterbacks like Browning, their ownership has been very, very low this season. Guys like him in this sort of spot, backup QBs in this showdown type format. So a lot of interesting dynamics, I think, to this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you said it, like the backup quarterback stuff, it's been that way all season. We saw it. I saw some numbers just posted out earlier on Twitter, and they were saying the same thing. So I definitely agree with you there. Title, I'm going to come to you for your thoughts. Before I do, like I said, we got B-Wald, our guy who won the King of the Desert ticket, had a pretty big, a couple big parlays. Again, we have a sports betting channel. It's not something we officially offer, but I know there's lots of good sports bettors out there and going around lately. We've got the same thing in our Discord, just another community run channel. It's a lot of fun. People are in there throwing bets around and parlays and things like that. And B-Wald wanted to give away a membership. So first up, the winner of our first membership giveaway, Colin R. Talk about nobody cares, work harder. Need a membership because I'm currently replacing my roof. Have you guys on full blast right now over my work call just to hear putting in double work. So Colin, appreciate you. Screenshot your YouTube account, send it over to info@shipitnation.com. We'll get you set up with a membership that you can get in there as early as this evening, get into the Discord, everything that goes with it. Title, kick it over to you, man. I'll get your first thoughts on this slate. We talked a little bit about it rolling in. Hoop talked some on it, but give me your first thoughts.
Yeah, I think Hoop broke it down pretty well. Obviously, with this big spread, Everyone wants to go Jaguars, backup quarterback on the other side. Jags, a lot of appealing pieces. Lawrence has been great. ETN, Kirk, Ridley, Zay's in the mix, Evan Ingram. But when you say all that, that also means you got to get the right Jaguar right, which makes the slate pretty interesting. Bengals side's a lot more concentrated for sure. Higgins is back. So the value of like the Trent Irwins of the world, I mean, there isn't really much value. That's another first thing that really stood out. Like stars and scrubs, a lot of people were going the Dallas-Seattle game since there were multiple pieces down there, and the CD Lambs, the Dax, to get them, you had to jam them. This slate, man, you go down here, it is gross. Like let's go sub 4K. Tanner Hudson's 4K, which is fine, but I mean, still feels overpriced. Bengals D is big dogs. Then you got like Trent Irwin, Drew Sample, Irv Smith, Luke Farrell, Travion Williams at 400. So I only think below 1K, Irv Smith, if you want to include him too. Irv Smith and Travion Williams will be like the only ones played down there at any clip. And then Bengals, no one really wants to get to the Samples, the Irvs. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is I think the mid-tier build, and even in the captain spot, I think you do get Jags defense getting a decent amount. Not necessarily Evan Ingram, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be jamming the Chase, jamming Lawrence, fit all the studs, and then punt someone. I think people are going to get, and that's why Jags D is going to be very, very popular because they're right in a range a lot of people will land on, and they just grade out so well. So some spots we can get different, like T. Higgins. He can't be high owned. He's in that range, just like DK Metcalf was. So I think we know where we can get different. But what are your thoughts on, I guess, Sam, we'll throw it back to you. You're going to have no 5-1 Jags builds, right? What about like 4-2?
You can get away with some on this slate.
Actually. I agree. What about 4-2s?
But I think there's ways you can do it different for sure.
What about 4-2s? Because that's going to be the main.
That might be the worst one. That's the it's just the most common one though. It's the most likely to hit. Sure. Just think about it. It makes so much sense. Also, why do the Bengals have like 7 tight ends? Like you could just mix and match them all. Like, what do you do there? There's like every dude. I keep looking down there. So we'll see how it goes out. But for sure, what you're saying and what I know where you're going at this with, and I agree, is like, we already know it's going to be, heavy 5-1 Jags, but most heavy, it might be, 40% of the builds in the entire tournament that are 4-2 Jags. So you got to get comfortable with some 3-3s. You can make some nice Jags 3-3 lineups, meaning it's a Jags captain, but you still get 3 Bengals in the other side. And then you can also make some 2-4s as well. If you can get 2, just like a Jags captain with one other Jags piece, and then 4 running it back the other side. This is definitely reminiscent of that slate I talk about every so often where Nades and I chopped it up, because you have a backup quarterback, but he has good options. Like these are serious dudes. You got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. Like there's actual good value guys there, and the prices are pretty solid. So I do think there's a lot you can do with this slate, and I like slates like that, especially when, like you said, everything's going to condense around certain constructions and certain punt value plays down the board. So I definitely think those are some good call-outs there as well. One thing, Hoop, before I go back to you and get your captain thoughts, this was the next announcement. So again, we always talk about community, and it is that word that some people, is it really? The chat tells you it's an excellent community to be a part of. There's no real toxicity. It's a lot of fun in the Discord. It's like-minded individuals with similar goals of just getting better at DFS, supporting others when they can't win. They're cheering on the other people that can, that are in there. They understand and know and are learning that not everybody wins every day at DFS. That's not the case. So keep that in mind. But this is the second part. So we gave away the B-Wald membership to Colin R. But Big Daddy Kane had a huge week again. This is his second one in like the last month or so. Won another 30 grand. Might have to tell him about that logo, Tom. I'm not sure what that logo means to him, but we can get him set up with a nice logo. But anyway, he wanted to give back 5 one-month memberships. So we are going to give away 2 more memberships. Title's going to pick one later. If you see it at any time, Title, again, you guys maybe will give him some time, but throw in YU. Hoop's going to pick out another. I already picked out one. And then we will save 3 of the Big Daddy Kane 1-month memberships for Thursday night, because I don't know if we'll have much else to talk about when it's Bailey Zappi versus Mitch Trubisky. So we can give away some memberships on that one as well. We'll give 3 more away on Thursday, but 2 more giveaways still coming today. So Hoop, we'll keep that in mind. I'll go to you, man. What's your thoughts at the captain position? You did touch on it a little, but it does feel like we could be a little bit more condensed tonight just because the fringe options are shaky at best, at least on paper for me. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, on the Jacksonville side, like I kind of said in the opening, all these guys have had slate winning performances this season. They've all had games where if they were on the main showdown slate, you'd need them to be in the captain spot on the Jaguars side. Trevor Lawrence the last 2 weeks, like you would have needed him. 28 fantasy points last week. The week prior to that, 32 fantasy points. Starting to feel it here a little bit. Calvin Ridley has had some monster games this year and big touchdown games too. And, is it a coincidence that the last 2 games where Trevor Lawrence kind of got it going, he started going to Ridley a little bit more? I don't know. Maybe not. Like maybe there's something there. So like he's a guy that I think you definitely consider up there. Christian Kirk can get there with, volume alone. But with Ridley's rise, he's kind of not taking a back seat, but, Ridley's been getting it done. He has more of the touchdown upside. Kirk is a guy that, I could potentially get away from, but I still like him in that spot. The one I do really like is Evan Ingram. Like the touchdown stuff has to change at some point. Like he's a big body. He's a very skilled receiver. He's getting a ton of targets. I mean, you look at it, going all the way back to week 2. I'm just going to rattle off these numbers: 8, 8, 8, 8, 7, 7, 10, 7, 6, 8, and he has 0 touchdowns. Like he is due to find the buy. I hate saying that about guys someone's due, but like he's going to find his way in the end zone at some point. So I do like him quite a bit. I know people will probably be on the Jacksonville defense in the captain. I don't necessarily see myself going there. And then another one is obviously ETN. He's had the big games. He has a questionable tag next to him on DK right now. He's going to play. They've already said he's going to play, but that questionable tag up could potentially lower his ownership a little bit in the captain spot. So I think he's definitely one to consider. And then on the Cincinnati side, I mean, man, the Jacksonville defense has been good, and I haven't fully decided yet what I'm doing with these Bengals captains. Like that's why I was curious to see what you guys have to say. I know you guys have some real good insight on these sort of situations. I don't have a full read on it at this point. I mean, Jamar Chase is a guy that I can obviously see myself playing up there. Ownership should be relatively low. If they are trailing in this game, you could potentially just get absolutely peppered. But it's tough. They're 10-point underdogs on the road. Second string quarterback, and Jacksonville's kind of been rolling lately. So I'm very curious to what you guys have to say about some of these Bengals guys in the captain.
Yeah, Ted, I'll let you go ahead first, man. I definitely think there's a possibility to play some Bengals tonight up top, but it's not going to be I don't think people are going to love it, but I will say this first part. Somebody asked about like somebody like Tanner Hudson or something like that. I normally don't like cheaper captains, but when you can do it on the side of a game when nobody's really on that side at all, let alone if you put one there, that means you're going to have Browning. That means you're likely to have a third guy in there, because I don't really necessarily love the Bengals 2-4s as much as the other side, where you could just see, Ridley with Lawrence and lock in on one of those Ridley games and then just need the volume of the PPR points coming back. Even 3-3s like that are fine, but I'm just saying I would go some of these Bengals up top for sure. So give me your thoughts on the captain spot in general, and then the Bengals conversation as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing some of these Bengals just because everyone wants to go these Jags, and I'm not going to be playing too many, but the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I'll touch on that in a sec, Browning, and then Mixon would be the 4th. The price tag's solid, but I think of all these guys, like at captain, I think we'll get Chase probably sub 10% in the 8% range. 10-point dogs, probably going to have to be dropping back a ton. Mixon's the one I think he'll probably be around there as well, because his price jumps off the page at $7K. So I think he's my least favorite of the 4. Jacksonville's been pretty stout. Then without Browning, man, like the touchdown equity for Mixon goes way down. Game script probably not great. He can't catch passes. I think that's how he does get there, is he catches 5-6 dump offs, something like that. So those will be the only 4. I don't think playing like a Hudson, or I don't know, I guess he really would be the only one, is fine. But like Irv Smith or Sample, they just rotate too much. You definitely need them to fall in the box. But I doubt I get there too much. That's because I'll be mixing and matching these Jags too. I'm going to be overweight Chase, probably overweight Higgins. Higgins just can't be played today. Not that he can't be played, but he's going to be the DK. 7,600, Mixon for 600 less, projects way better. There's Evan Ingram for 1,400 less. Christian Kirk only 600 more. Quarterback 1,200 more. Like, I think he's the forgotten one. Rightfully so. He's been awful this year. Backup quarterback. There's Chase. Like, I get it. I'm going to be surprised if Hoop goes, I'm Xing off Higgins in every single lineup because he's cheeks. However, that's when I usually go, because I know he will be low owned. Just what we saw with DK. But yeah, at the end of the day, as far as the Jag side, I love ETN. Feels like an ETN smash spot. 10-point favorites. I'm not worried about the Q tag at all. I practice all week. Outside of him, I don't know. What about Trevor Lawrence? He's gonna be way up there. People hate playing QBs, but people still do it. I know Mahomes yesterday, though. I was surprised to see him come in. Was it like 14.5% in the milli? I was expecting in the 18, 19 range. So do you think we can have a chance to get Lawrence somewhere in that 14 range? Because I buy in with his legs and his upside. So no strong lean on Jake's side. I'll play Bengals though.
I wish our girl DGA was in the chat right now. She writes all this stuff down. I swear, someone was talking to me about this last night. I don't know if they definitely don't follow it as close as like she does, but I don't remember very many slates where the captain won. The quarterback
captain won.
Yeah. And it's especially hard when it gets expensive, right? When you got the Allens and the Hurts and that, not only do you need them to go well, and I know it's only a single game, so it's very easy. We've seen Allen, maybe we've seen Allen. I don't know, but my point is, you still need the rest to go right. And when they're that expensive, you need the cheap pieces to hit. And so you got to have a lot of versions of it, all that. It just seems to me like it hasn't been as much. I'll let you hop back in a sec, Hoop. I do want to give a shout out, though. Aaron Shreve, founding family member here, created a channel on YouTube just to chat with you boys. So he's probably not going to use the YouTube channel, but the account, first message ever. We got to shout that out. Appreciate you. That's what we're talking about with this place, man. That's what's so fun about this. Everybody just wants to get into the mix, and we love it. And I know a lot of you out there want to get into the mix and are putting your ideas out there. We are going to pick some winners in a little bit. Hoop, sorry to cut you off. I think you had something to add there.
The only, from what I've seen, eye test, no data behind this, the running quarterbacks, the extreme running quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen's, guys like that, like they'll get the ownership in the captain, but the non-extreme running quarterbacks are just not getting that ownership up there. But it comes down to, like you said, like have they been in the optimal a ton this year? Doesn't necessarily seem like it, but Lawrence has been playing really well the last 2 weeks, and
he's
the one thing I do
plus 330 on the ground to score, so I think that's probably what you need.
And he probably got to find it. Yeah, if he's probably got to find the end zone on his feet to potentially pay it off and be the optimal captain. But I will say, it's not. He's only 10-8. Like, it's not the 12K price tags. The ceiling price today is lower than we've seen, most of the season. But I don't know. To me, it just really comes down. All these Jacksonville guys are going to get some degree of ownership. It really comes down to, what you do with these Bengals guys, in my opinion.
This feels true as well. And wouldn't it be fitting for Ingram, who doesn't even what is it? How many games without a touchdown? Finally finds multiples in one game, and it ends up being him up top.
Well, I think it is. I think that's the play today. He's got to find.
I think it's going to get steamed up, but I think it's fine that it gets steamed up. Like, you can still get different in plenty of spots as well, right? I think that's definitely an opportunity that you could get to. The one thing about Lawrence is interesting too is he's this rushing quarterback now. Like, he runs all the time. He's got one game over 17 yards in the last 6. But what he's been rushing in is the more the more important pieces that you want him. And that's where the popularity comes in, is the touchdowns, right? He's rushing in touchdowns right now. Like Sam Howell yesterday, horrible game, still tops 20 DK points because he rushes in for 2 touchdowns from short range. So we'll take that anytime we can get it. I think, Ingram up top looks really good. I like that call. I like both those wide receivers. But Title, you brought up one point I want to touch on, and then we'll go somewhere different with this. But I will say this, that when you asked about those 5-1s earlier, do I think it could potentially be over-owned 5-1s? Yes. But is there 5-1? The 5-1 I like the best would start with ETN at the top, because I want to tell that story. I was talking with one of our members in the community about this earlier. Like, at least then I'm telling the story where I can see it. Like, it's him. Then you can put the defense, and then maybe you cut it off after that. Maybe you go no wide receivers, or maybe you go a random guy on the other side of the 5-1 that nobody's on, like that still could get targets, especially in higher dollar, smaller field stuff. But in the lottery that everyone's playing, it's tougher to get behind them for sure. We see some of that stuff in the Millie Makers. We did our review show earlier, and some guys were all in on Zach Moss yesterday in the mega, and way underweight in the $20 Millie Maker. The idea of, obviously you need way more stuff to go your way in the other, versus he was just like, he was going to be 85% owned in the mega. So why not be all in? So I can see it from that angle too. I don't really see
Higgins
much else. Higgins is very interesting from that Cincy side. Browning did lock onto him last week. There was no doubt about that. And I don't know how the Jags are going to work a guy like Jamar Chase. And it's not the same, but it certainly is not the same Browning with Jamar Chase as Burrow with Jamar Chase. Those are different B quarterbacks. So I would say, and Browning might not be even close. So that's kind of the difference there, right? You want to be able to see what you can do there. So I'll just kick it back to you, Title, and let you keep talking about if you have anything else there. If not, we can get into breaking down these running backs. But yeah, the Lawrence thing is really what Hoop said, I guess. Just one last thought is he can rush in touchdowns. He's cheaper than the Hurts, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes of the world. And he does and can spread it out, which you definitely want someone who spreads it out when it's that way versus, like I said, if you're putting a Ridley captain, you're kind of expecting a shootout. Like, why would they keep throwing Ridley multiple touchdowns? I guess you could kind of aim for the situation yesterday and treat Ridley as Debo. The score did get out of hand eventually, but Philly was in the mix early until they definitely were not. So I don't know, a couple different ways to look at it, but just my thoughts on that. Your other thoughts, Title, and then if not, start breaking down these other running backs.
No, I like your thoughts on a lot of the 5-1s having ETN. Like if you are playing Jags, I think 5-1 Jags, Captain D, that's how I'd probably want to play them. And again, you still have to do something to make yourself a little different. That 5-1 with Jags D Captain is not necessarily going to be contrarian, but yeah, you do want to tell a story. Otherwise, if you have Ridley up there, I think you're hoping like the DJ Moore primetime game weeks ago or whoever, for Alec Pierce yesterday, where he catches like 3 balls for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he just gets there on little volume because the score gets out of hand that way. But I like the ETN side. Yeah, nothing really other at captain. I'll be playing Higgins at captain because people don't want to. Playing some Chase. I'll be the lowest owned we'll probably ever see him at the captain spot on Showdown. Rightfully so, but you can tell a game script. They're going to have to drop back a lot. As far as the running back position, really only 2 guys on both sides. Mixon and ETN are workhorses, so on both sides. Mixon 7,000. The price jumps out the page for sure, but he's not going to be efficient. He could touch the ball 20, 25 times, and he does have that pass catching ability, which is why I will be playing him for the price, but he's not going to be sneaky by any means. I absolutely love ETN. Travion Williams and Dearness Johnson. So Travion Williams, like I mentioned, it's Irv Smith at 1K and Travion at 400. I think that's the only 2 people I'll be playing 1K and less. So I'm naturally probably going to have more Travion than I want. You can also tell a story, Tambo. If you want to get real crazy, ETN captain and 5-1 and Travion be your only bingle because he's only $400. So that means, like if Ridley outscores Chase, Higgins, etc., whatever it may be. And if they're down a bunch, Travion does 2-minute work, can catch some passes. And if they're down 21 or they're down 30 or whatever in the fourth quarter, probably Mixon ain't out there, and it's just going to be Travion getting that. So I do not mind some Travion. Dearness Johnson on the other side. You can also paint that. They get up by a bunch. ETN, they don't need him. Save him. He was a little banged up, whatever it may be. 4,200, you're way overspending for a backup running back, but you do know he will be on the field. And if he does hit, he does somehow fall in the box. Well, you're way above there. So at the end of the day, Travion and Dearness going to be very low owned. I'll be mixing and matching them in my MME, in my large field stuff. Love ETN. Mixon would. I don't really love Mixon, to be honest with you.
I think Mixon, we talked about this in the chat earlier. I like him because of his volume and his usage on a single game. Sometimes where we're talking about it, where it gets so annoying is on a main slate because you're like, man, this guy gets all the work. He gets all the volume. I can just use him, plug him in. Going to be all set. They're going to, backup quarterback. But at least in this slate, you could set it up where it's just a possibility. Like you could literally have a 5-1 where it's just Mixon. On the other side, they lose 21-7 or 28-7. He's the guy with the touchdown and 50 yards on the ground, and that could be enough. I get what you're saying, though. Is there anybody at $200? I know we're getting to punts later. I just wanted to see something quick because you were mentioning
it is slim pickings down there. It is very nasty if you get in that range.
So it's got to be
Travion Williams. After that, it's
it's gonna be Travion to Irv. Like it's no hot take, I'm saying. So Travion's naturally going to get some, but that's why you'll see Jags defense captain higher than you think. These kickers when we get to them, like
I mean, even like
captain,
the ones that you said though they're possible still. I just was looking down low, but like it's just again you're almost this is the thing with the ETN captain. Besides, like for the $15, I'm talking about like, is this what most people here are getting the takes for? But
that's what we are talking. Yeah, for everyone out there, we are mainly talking 15. Like, don't be playing.
I get messed up though because I'm talking about like the 470 Q tonight or something where I'm like, I can get to a team where I have one in my portfolio and I probably will spend more of the money. So I always am transparent. I don't want people coming back like, oh, I thought you said that. I'm trying to explain my thought process to help people, but I think to your point there. What ends up happening if you've got like a Travion as the one guy on the run back on the 5-1 on an ETN, I just looked at it. You can fit everybody, but it's like, is ETN, Ridley, Kirk, all these dudes going to get there and that? Probably not. Like, because once they get up, they shut guys down if that's how the game script really goes. So I would look for ways to be more unique, and then you might be able to get away from that and have a guy like a Mixon or a Higgins and just hope that they're 8 points or the kicker or something like where, again, hopefully it can just go your way, but it is really hard. You kind of have to leave money on the table in that, which would get you different within your 5-1 still, give you a game script that still makes sense. The Jags full control type game at home crush as 10-point favorites, which you would suspect. And then from there, you get like somebody on the other side coming back. Hoop, I'll get your thoughts on the running backs too, specifically Mixon, and then move from there. But maybe now is a good time for the chat to talk about 40-point total, over or under. Throw it in the chat what you got. Over or under 40 points. Go ahead, Hoop. Let's talk running backs.
Are we fading the chat again? I mean, the chat has not come.
I think
Got to. I was just gonna sneak in one of the membership winners here. Found a nice comment here, and it's just this comment here shows you, no matter how things start, you always have the ability to turn things around. And our guy Tambo can attest to that. As Snoopaloop points out here, he's been following Tambo from the day Mayo yelled at him on his golf show. Now, if you guys have not seen this video, it is a must watch. And I don't know where it is because it snuck up on Twitter one day. It is literally the best video ever. You have to watch it. But he said he would love a membership as I am not able to do as much research as I used to with the 2 and 3 year old kids running around the house. So we'll get Snoopaloop signed up, but man, that original video of Tambo's initial show on Mayo Media Network was something.
I don't know exactly how old it is now. I do think it is 2 or 3 years old. It's definitely out there. I don't hide.
Got to be more than that, right?
But I
like got to be more than that.
No, I think it's only like 3 years old. But to be honest, I like what you said. That point you said is, again, it's not where you start, it's how you finish. And again, you can battle back from that. I've had people reach out and say, man, you're like so good at hosting. You break down the shows good. You're good at controlling it. How did that ever happen? I was like, well, that's where I started. That was just me being on a bigger show, being a little bit nervous. And I really thought I was running his game. Like I had the first segment handled perfectly. And then the second segment, what happened is I just went in tunnel vision. I stopped listening to Mayo because I was like, oh, he's going to ask it the exact same way. I'm ready to hit these key points and chop it up. And then dude goes and hits me with a completely different angle.
It is, but I will say, doing these shows, like doing them live, that is the hardest part. And that's why I never do it. I mean, none of us really do it to each other. But when you throw out a, hey, here are 4 to 5 guys, rank them for me. If you're in this industry, all right, if you're in this industry and you're hosting a show or you're having conversation, never do that to the person on the show with you, because those are the hardest, because you have to remember all the guys, and then in your head you got to kind of process, all right, how do I really rank all these guys? So that is if you do 3, that's fine, maybe 2 or 3. Do you like this guy, that guy? How do you rank these 3? But once you start mixing in 4 and 5, it does become difficult. So in your defense, that is a difficult task.
Yeah, and I will say too, I know you didn't pick this winner, and I'm not picking them either, but I did think, loving the marketing angle of things, I think it's really sharp to show up in our YouTube chat with a competitor logo and say you want to join us because it stands out like a sore thumb. You're like, wait, who's this? And then they say they want to jump ship. So you're like, oh, it's kind of intriguing. But then at the same token, you don't want to give the free advertising to the competitors. So kind of a sharp move. Not sure if it will work. We only have title to decide the final winner here. But before you go, Hoop, let's just have a quick glance at these. We got over, under, over, under, over. So no decision early on. We got an over easy, like the eggs. Then we got an over, 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 over. Oh, man, lots of overs starting to click in. I don't know. I think a lot more people like the over here. That's just what I'm
naturally. I mean, more times than not, though, people naturally gravitate to overs because it's like wishful thinking because you want it. You want to see the scoring. Like, think about that Seattle game. That was exciting. Like, that was an exciting game. Like, you want it. In terms of what people really think. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of the running backs on the slate, ETN, we talked about him, great play. Mixon, I think, just better in the flex spot for the reasons that you guys said. It's like I could see him in those 5-1 builds or even like 4-2 builds where if he gets 10, 11, 12 at 7K, you might just need him in there in the flex. So I like him definitely more as a flex play, just a raw fantasy point type of thing. And then Dearness Johnson, cool with him. I mean, he's getting some work out there. Seven carries in the last 2 games. got a target and a catch in both of those games as well, and in deep catches, probably screenplays or something. They went for like 30, 40 yards. So I don't mind him on the slate. Travion Williams, I mean, man, like there's no cheap guys on this slate. Like Title kind of talked about, he's $400, and it's basically the only guy in this price range that is projected over like 1 fantasy points. So just got to see what happens on it. Not like a overweight, like I want to go bonkers with Travion Williams, but I'll probably have him in the player pool today.
Yeah, I like that call as well. There's some other good comments in here too. I'm just reading through them. You guys did a good job breaking down the running back position, but I think one of the most prevalent things we see, at the Hoop's point earlier, is why we keep the price so cheap, like $49 a month. I always say this, but it's $1.50 a day. And I don't think enough people realize, like, if you've been depositing a lot of money, or if you're playing, even you say, oh, but I'm just a $20 a day player or a $50 a week player. If you're a $50 a week player, you're still paying almost $200 a month, and $1.50 a day. Like I said, you got to have something. And then when you get something, you got to put in the work. And I use the gym membership all the time, but you can buy a gym membership if you just go there and sit on the treadmill all day or stare in the window and say, damn, those are some cool machines and some nice weights, and don't actually use them. It's not going to get you anywhere. We're always putting in the work. So we got to keep that in mind when you guys are talking about this. Our price at $1.50 a day for 6 major sports on top of the community run channels. I was in the mix in the college football over the weekend with our guy Smarty. I won a 222 ticket. It's actually been a good weekend for Tambo. I'm pretty happy over here.
Sure as hell sounds like it. I mean, Jesus, now you're just ripping out other sports I never even knew you played, and you're winning.
All the content is there. You can use it to what you want. And Hoop, you said this from the start. It's priced so that you're like, this sport, MLB ends. I only really usually play MLB. Well, there's 5 other sports going on that you can just get into the mix at $1.50 a day. You know you're jumping in those streets anyway. Why not be prepared to hop in the streets and be able to find it out? So that's all I'm saying.
It took you to remember the college football to win to realize you had a good week.
That's the irony of it all too. Like,
you talked about golf, MMA, and then he wins 108,000 in one screenshot. He goes, "Oh, college football! It has been a good week." Like, what?
The best part about
a good week at SHIPIT Nation. I'm talking about a good week at the Nation because other people won in all these sports. So it's like I'm thinking, damn, like if you add up my stuff with their stuff. Go check the tweet. I mean, it's been a really good week. It's just nice to see and nice to know the content, the projections, all that stuff is on point. So I love that stuff. That's what makes me excited. Someone said it earlier. You work so hard. Like I love this, what I do. It's not really a job. You just go do what you want to do, talk about what you want to talk about, and do it with great people. That is what it's all about. So I do appreciate everyone. The code's up there. If you want to get in the mix and try it out, let us know. By the way, I say this to some all the time, but like, if you think this is for you and you want to get in for the long term, just send me, Hoop, Title, someone a DM. We'll do what we can to get you in and take care of you. It's just these promos are about like trying it out for the first time. We're confident once you're in, you're going to like it. But if you want to be in for the long haul and you decided this is going to be your home, you want to put in the work, you're going to spend the next year getting better at this game and playing a lot and doing all that stuff, just hit me up and I'll do what I can to take care of you. So go ahead, Hoop. I'll go back to you now. We'll move to wide receivers. Anything else you got to add? And then if not, take us into these pass catchers.
Yeah, so the pass catchers, we always talk about it. I mean, it seems like it just always comes true. Like they just have such an advantage on DraftKings with the scoring. I mean, they have the potential to score so many more points than anyone else. Like the 10-catch game with a touchdown over 100 yards, they're just a lock to be in the captain spot if that happens. So I do want exposure to at least a few of these guys. I mean, on the Jacksonville side, like I said, Trevor Lawrence has been playing great the last 2 weeks. Calvin Ridley's had 2 really big games. Is that a coincidence? I don't know, but I will be playing a lot of Ridley up top in the captain. And then the nice thing is where there's so many options up here, like there's so many guys that stand out as good plays, the ownership's getting pretty spread out. Like you're not seeing anyone come in with like a super high number. Even all these Jacksonville guys, it's looking like 10% or less, which makes it easy to get over the field. So guys like, Kirk and Ridley definitely like, Zay Jones has not really been, he's been hurt obviously, but really hasn't been active. 5.2K. That's a big price tag, but that should keep his ownership down a little bit. But it's so consolidated now on the Jacksonville side. It's hard to really go anywhere else outside of the main guys and then Ingram as pass catchers, which we talked about a little bit in the captain segment. We'll talk about as well when we get to tight ends. But Christian Kirk, Ridley, Zay Jones, fine plays. And then on the Cincinnati side, you obviously have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then you can even throw some Trenton Irwin in there. Those are all the main guys that are going to be on the field, and you can kind of play all of them. Trenton Irwin, it doesn't look great at 1.8K, but we just don't have the cheap options. It really could be one of those slates where if anyone under 3K or below does anything, you might just need it. We've seen it happen, a couple times this season. So I will keep Irwin in my player pool as well. But yeah, the big Jacksonville guys I think are the key. And then what you do with Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase, $9,400 if they're trailing, he should get a lot of targets. His ownership probably going to be up there just because he's the one guy that people still trust, I think, in this offense. So yeah, pretty straightforward wide receiver plays on the slate.
Yeah, I always got to comment on this. So I mean, read the room, read the chat. It's fine. And look at when DraftKings and FanDuel hit the market. You got a commercial every 5 seconds. You want me to bring these 3-minute Manscaped ads to these free shows? I can do that and rattle off a paragraph for you, or I can tell you about all the community members crushing it. You can go see where you can get it at. You can find out how to save. This is an industry that there's a ton of competition in, and there's a lot of places that are charging heaps for just one sport for what we charge for an entire year. So when we're promoting it and getting the name out there and it's grown as fast as it can, it's a game of disruption. We're always going to talk about this instead of the boxer shorts, sacks, or the Manscaped ads, get your lawnmower trimmers and all this bullshit. So if you don't like it, free show, hit the like, take a hike. I don't care. Go ahead, Tambo, or go ahead, Title. Talk to us about these wide receivers.
See, even when he throws it, he wants to throw it right back to himself so he can freaking talk more.
I want to hammer this guy more. Yeah, sure, it's okay.
Well, he'll get it back soon because, it's pretty clear on both sides. On the Bengals side, they run most 3 receiver sets. They ran a lot of 2 tight end sets lately, but it's Chase, it's Higgins, it's Boyd. Now Irwin with Higgins back. Irwin was the number 3, gets the number 4. Again, you can play him just because there's so many bums. Like we're talking about Travion Williams, Irv Smith, throw Irwin in that equation. He catches a couple passes, somehow falls in the box. You need him, but he's low on. That's the only thing, the reason that I like playing him. Chase is by far my favorites. I don't know. Higgins at the ownership, I just usually play those plays, but it's not like I love him too much. Boyd is definitely, I do not like Boyd for his price tag. So really just Chase and Higgins. Excuse me. On the Jacksonville side, I'm with who? It's a Ridley day, baby. He's Ridley's. This team rolls with Ridley. It seems they got him involved week 1, had that nuke. Offense looked amazing. Got away from a little bit. I think Zay Jones helps Ridley as well. Just more studs out there. Defense has to focus on so many more guys, more one-on-one coverage, and Ridley's a man beater there. So love Ridley, love him in captain. Kirk is probably going to be the highest own at the price. He's still such a good play at 8,200. That's why T. Higgins, though, is going to be a lot lower, 7,600, 8,200. Everyone wants Christian Kirk, projects better, etc. I agree, but just say you leave 600 in that lineup or something, you can get Kirk, you go to Higgins. That could be the difference between a 20K chop and an 80K chop, or whatever it may be. So I'll be looking at that. I agree with you. Zay Jones has been dusty, 5,200. I think they missed him, if I remember correctly. Lawrence missed him wide open a week or 2 ago. He definitely can get there. He's had his big games, but feels like a different offense now. It's 10-point favorites with ETN, Ridley and Kirk as the main guys. There's Ingram. If they get up early, the opportunities for Zay is going to be pretty limited. So don't think I love Zay and Boyd as much. Give me Ridley. Give me Chase, Kirk. No real hot takes here, but that's just how I see it going.
I'm trying to find the video for the chat. They said they can't find it. I got no shame. I'll post it out there.
Yeah. No, it's something to be proud of. I'm telling you, it's something to be proud of. because now, no joke, I'm not trying to, stroke you or anything, but in this industry, you are clearly one of the best hosts at multiple sports. Smooth spoken, you nail the marketing points to some people's dismay, but it's common knowledge. Everyone says it. We'll say it that you are very good hosting shows. Just goes to show, if you start out rough, you always have the chance for that comeback.
Yeah, it's always good. And I might try this sometime. Actually, would have died laughing if I had said, "What do you got, Tambo?" Oh, I want to hammer this guy again and just double down on him just like that. Would be good. And Scary, don't remind us. Scary's always here supporting. Appreciate the support. But we are not trying to talk about Bailey Zappi and Mitch Trubisky just yet. So leave that one on the back burner. We'll keep it going from there. Title, do you have your winner yet? Because if you don't, oh, you do? I was gonna say you could check it out while we do the rest, but go ahead. If you got your winner, let's bring it up.
Here we go. Let me find so many people there we go. El Paso, #1, been a viewer for a while. Usually sit back in the knowledge, take some notes. Hoop loves taking notes with his pen, as you always see. Interacting with the community, UFC, touching my heart. NFL, he's in here. Review show NFL too. Tambo and Nades just did that. So a lot of free shows. Give you a chance. Love that.
Yeah, we'll keep looking for it. Shout out to El Paso #1. Hit us up with your screenshot of your account. Yeah. Send it to info@shipitnation.com.
I like that.
I think it's Slappy's burner account. He's here to see what the Slappy parlay of the day is. So far, we got the under, and I think it's pretty obvious. It's going to be under 40 plus 10 is what the parlay is going to be, because obviously everyone's got the Jags to roll here. It doesn't matter. And even if you don't, I think that's the side. So plus 10 with the under 40 is the Slappy parlay of the day. Hoop, anything on these tight ends, kickers, defenses? We'll move there next. I'm in agreement with you guys on these wide receivers. I will say one quick thing. This usually it's Kirk over Ridley. Today it feels like more people like Ridley over Kirk, and I think it's maybe just because the price is not too far apart. It's apart, but it's not like super far apart. It's only $1,000, so I think people can find that money still, no problem.
You think the ownership will be about the same on them both?
Yeah, at least that, if not more, to Ridley than Kirk, usually.
You think if anything, Ridley will be higher?
I think if anything, it goes to Kirk's direction, just because we don't have the value on this slate, and that $1,000 could make a difference when people are building out their teams. But I think it will be marginal. I think it will be.
Once you have Jags D, though, remember, Jags D just pops you up. You got the money. So like I've already hand built some stuff before hopping on. You can go land on Ridley, no problem. And then it's like, what's smartest, maybe. I don't know if it's going to be smart. We'll know when we get the answer sheet tomorrow, or tonight. But if you drop your Ridleys down to Kirk's and leave the money, I think that's another way to go about it as well. So
certainly, yeah. In terms of the tight ends, and let me see where that comment was. I wanted to pull this up. Yeah. So like the Ingram thing, I think it is important on the slate for sure. And I get this. Like I said it too. Like he's due is like saying I'm due. Not sure if it's ever going to happen. But the issue I do have with that is the fact that the opportunity is still there. Like I rattled it off earlier on the show. He's just getting endless targets, 7, 8, 10, 6, whatever it is. I rattled off all the numbers, averaging like 7 or 8 targets a game. Like that's big time opportunity. So, I mean, he's going to be a big part of what I do tonight for sure. And then this Luke Farrell, he got pretty involved last game. He is officially questionable. It didn't sound too serious though. So I'm assuming he is in, what is he? He's 2,600. He got 5 targets last game, and then he had 2 the week before. One of those guys that's cheap. We don't have a lot of cheap plays. He'll be in my player pool for sure. And then the Cincinnati guys, I don't know, just mix and match them all in there. Who the hell knows is going to get it? Tanner Hudson, Irv Smith, Drew Sample, limited exposure to maybe all of them. I don't know. I got zero read on the Bengals tight ends at this point in the season. But for me, yeah, definitely it's an Evan Ingram sort of night. Price is fair at 62. Works with a lot of builds. Like him a lot.
What's this guy? Remember we talked about this last time. Title was
Strange.
I think he's going to be out though. I think he's going to be out, right?
Yeah,
so that means
Strange, baby. Get some of that Strange in your life.
He's trending to be out. So maybe we could get this other guy. What's his name? Farrell.
Luke Farrell.
Farrell, but you call him Farrell. Yeah, that's the guy. Luke for real. He might be for real tonight. You might
5
need
targets. 5 last week.
So go ahead, Title. Tight ends, kickers, and defenses.
I mean, yeah, he's also 2,600. Like the guys like that are usually $400 that we keep talking about, which is the story of this slate. There really just isn't much value. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the Cincy side is tough. Tanner Hudson's definitely been their best pass catcher. It hasn't even been close. But they still rotate in Irv Smith, Sample. I think they might even have this Wilcox guy, Mitchell Wilcox as well. Like they have so many people back there. And you also have Browning throw it to you and not Burrow throwing it to you. So I don't know. Hudson still is my favorites. I'll be mixing and matching, or mixing, I guess, Hudson and Sample and Sample and Irv Smith as well, just because $1,200 and $1K. There just isn't people down there. They will be on the field. A couple catches could be enough. Hudson's my favorite on the Jacksonville side. Yeah, Evan Ingram or or Farrell, assuming Strange is out. Even if Strange wasn't out, probably still just Farrell or Ingram. I don't know. I love Ridley, man. Ridley and ETN are definitely my Jags guys. So I don't know how much Evan Ingram, but still a fine price tag. Ownership should be in check. But yeah, the value. Well, Tambo, how are you, like, we really just don't have value. Are you just going to be trying to avoid these tight ends and all that, playing a bunch of kickers, D's, Travion Williams? Like, what's your thought roster construction?
Some sets I'm going to just play a bunch of these guys mixed in because I don't think any of them get like a significant amount. So if I land on them, I'm okay with it. Because like you said, everyone just lands on the Jags D there. They're cheap enough. So if you just drop down a little bit, I actually think one guy I didn't spend enough time on earlier myself, at least, was Dearness Johnson. Really overpriced, but man, he's actually working in. And again, I think ETN is fine, but I think that he's fine enough, but it's like they still have to work this guy in some. And so you pay up for probability. I can't imagine him being super high owned, but you saw it there, Hoop.
I got it to watch after the show. I mean, it's a must watch. So I got the date, by the way. July
16th, 2019 is when this is from.
4 years ago, 4.5 years.
Just got to put in that work, baby. So yeah, that's a good clip. You guys can check that out. It's worthy of watching. Someone else was talking about it too. We'll flip over and share this tab, but the hoodies, you got it on, right, Hoop?
Yes, sir.
We might be almost sold out though. We ordered like a lot and then we gave some away and then we had the contest and then we sold a bunch. So you guys can check them out, but if you want them, we got to pull this pre-order tag. They're no longer, they may just stay on pre-order because we have to order them again, but most comfortable hoodie I've ever worn, actually, regardless of logo. I thought it was just super comfortable. So more promos for Lone Wolf DFS. We appreciate you sticking around and watching, Slappy. So thank you so much. Any other kicker and D takes or anything else that we need to spend time on that? Like I don't see myself going to D at captain. Like Title mentioned earlier, these 5-1s, it may want it. If it hits, maybe someone's got it differently enough that they can ship pretty unique with it. For sure enough, good for them. But I just don't think I'm going to be able to get there today. And then I would rather just play like ETN and control the game that way and hopefully have it. So I think it's, to me, really the only setup that I've got right now. And no promos on these right now. Like we're selling them for pretty close to what we got them at because we just wanted to get better quality hoodies. So that's where we're at on those. But some of the other gear, we might have some promos on shortly. If you want to go to the site, if you're not a member, we've talked about this in the past. I didn't spend any time on it today, but even if you don't like our promos, you don't like our marketing, you don't want to sign up, you don't want to pay just $1.50 a day to get involved in one of the best communities out there right now, you can go to the website and just give your email for free. This is a showdown show. You can get our 45-minute mini course where we broke it out from our full 4-hour education course. And you can get this for free. No credit card information, no nothing. You just put in your email, submit. We'll send you the special link that you can then go watch the video at your own convenience. And then Nick says it here, back to that first, I know Title stepped out, but like ETN may have a short run if game gets imbalanced. Yeah, I think you'd have to tell your story with that build where then you could do it that way. But I think it's at least interesting to look at that. So Title, anything else you've got to add? If not, we can go to you guys throwing your scores into the chat, and then we can talk FanDuel after this as well.
Yeah, kickers defenses. I mean, Jags might be 45% owned today in the millie, or absolutely something ridiculous. McManus 25%, 30%. Like, this range is because we keep talking about it. If you go that step lower, good luck getting the samples, the Irv Smith, the Travion Williams. Like, you got to get that right. And if you aren't playing 20 plus lineups or using an optimized or whatever it may be, it's pretty hard to handpick these guys down here and feel comfortable with it. So I just think this range gets steamed, especially Jags D, 10-point favorites, backup quarterback. It makes all the sense. I'm going to be underweight. That's just really what I do in this range. I like the Bengals side more. McPherson and Bengals D. They're going to be so much lower owned than McManus and Jags. Stuff so random, man. Like, who put a one if Lions D outscores Raiders D? No, Raiders get one play, pick six, it's over. Like, Carolina houses a punt return for 75 yards, and they get 6. Like, who knows what goes on with this? Give me the ownership discount. If you can play Jags D, you take Jags D out and plays Bengals D. That's kind of what I was equating to Hoop, not trying to bring back bad memories, but first place was what? 2-3-way chop for $200K or whatever it was. The other chop would have been 30-40K, which you take, but little things like that can pay off big. So yeah, I'll be playing the ownership game like usual. I do like even though McManus will have some ownership though, I still do like McManus. Like, there just isn't many people down here as well. So I'd be good eating him, So I guess I like 3 of the 4. And Jags D, I mean, of course, you can tell yourself why they're good plays. It's mainly just the ownership.
Yeah, I like that call as well. Hoop, you got anything for FanDuel? Before, real quick, Mimi, if you're already a member, make sure to go repost our latest post for week 13 on our Twitter at ShipItNation. Follow, like, repost it, because that's how you could win a hoodie and a hat today. So you might just be in the mix, and probably only, 20 or 30 people do it. So you'd be in a pretty good odds when it comes down to that. But any members can go and repost that, like, comment, or quote with hashtag SHIP, and we'll be able to get in the draw for the $69 hoodie and the hat to go with it. Hoop, your final thoughts and then FanDuel thoughts before we get to the sim segment.
Just to add on to the, kicker and defense talk, I really like McManus tonight. We talked about Aubrey the other night, and he ended up going into my core. A lot of the same reasons for McManus, and, they're projected to have offensive success here. And again, you go and look at some of the games he's had this season, which I don't encourage you to do for every position, but with kickers, it's relevant because it does tell you a story. Like, are they willing to, kick field goals? Are they willing to kick deep field goals? And with McManus, he's got some big boy games this season. He's been at least 10 fantasy points in 3 out of the last 4. He's got 16, 14, 10. He's got a 17 fantasy point game earlier in the season. He's got a 14. He's got another 10. So he's been double digits. Looks like in 6 games this season. I really like him tonight. The ownership between him and Jags defense is going to be too big. It's bigger than it should be. So that's like my one take, I think, on those 2 positions. Over on FanDuel, one thing that stands out is a cheap price tag for Trevor Lawrence at $14,500. ETN's the most expensive at 16. Jamar Chase is more expensive than Trevor Lawrence at he's $15K. Trevor Lawrence is $14,500. Browning $13K, pretty similar over there. And you have Kirk and Ridley, basically same situation. Ridley's $1,000 more expensive. I mean, I personally prefer Ridley. I think his game fits FanDuel scoring better anyway. I think more touchdown upside with him. Ingram at 10K, I think, is a nice play. Similar situation, T. Higgins over there at 10.5. People aren't going to want to pay that, with the backup quarterback in there, but ownership should come in pretty light. Jacksonville's defense would be very highly owned. They're only 9,000 on FanDuel, which is, mid-range price tag. They're going to get a lot of ownership. McManus at 9.5. And then in terms of cheapies, similar situation, Luke Farrell, 6K. I don't hate that. Got Irv Smith at 6K. Those are the 2 cheap guys I think you can take a look at. Zay Jones, I think, is a much better play. When you consider the price tag, he's only 8K on FanDuel. So if he finds the end zone once, you'll take that on DK at 5,200. He's got to do maybe a little bit more. So I'm good with Zay Jones over there. That's about it. FanDuel.
Yeah, Title, find me your first score. I'm going to throw it in. And Nick mentions a good point while you do that. He says, where's the love? I know inflation right now and everything that's going on in the world, but everyone's hanging on to everything so tight. You don't need to hang on to a free like. It's easy to give away. It's free to do. You just press the thumbs up button. It takes nothing. But I've noticed that lately people are really hanging on to everything, especially those likes, because unless we get the like spot in here where we get 789 likes in 5 minutes, we've not been able to see the top of that, but everyone's here watching. So we appreciate you watching, but just remember that for future. Let's do it. 23-10 for the Jags. Okay. Oh shit, I read it backwards. Yeah, I was thinking the other way. 23-10 for the Jags. I was looking at the Bengals on here.
I was gonna say, why are you so surprised?
This is like the most standard one. I was thinking it was the other way around. I was looking at the Bengals on my screen. While this loads, for those that have never used it, again, you can go to runthesims.com. You can use promo code SHIPIT for 10% off, but we're just on the slate. DraftKings, we went to DFS tools. Sim Runner, RTS is for Run the Sims. We turned off promo. We're just putting in this slate is tonight's slate. The inputs you just saw us type in that score. You can do much more manipulation with that and manual changes, whatever you want to do. The settings are for 10,000 simulations. And basically what this is saying right now, if they played this game 10,000 times, how would the winning lineups look like on DraftKings based on this slate? It shows you that they estimate Trevor Lawrence to be owned 63% in the flex, 14% in the captain, kind of like what you said earlier about Mahomes, like similar in that range. In those simulations, he only comes in 58% of the time in the flex, so lower, but he does come in the captain a lot more. So he's better at captain than in flex is what this is saying. Title, what are some of the other things here that you see that stand out, or anything else you want me to look at down the board?
Mixing his cheeks, and they absolutely hate him today, which I could definitely get behind.
Yeah, that's a low number.
Everything else is like even, slightly over, just brutal for Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So
Jags D and Mixon both are really hated on here.
Sign me up. I mean, because you play Mixon because of the price. Like $7K is just so cheap for a guy that's gonna be out there a ton. But he was so inefficient with Burrow. Now the touchdown equity, like they can't even get down there. So I can paint a picture on fading a chalk 46% in the flex. Like I can paint a picture fading that 55% total. Yeah, Jags D right there. Like, I mean, if that's true and all that, I can not fade. I play multiple lineups. If I only played one, I would definitely not play Jags D. Fade Joe Mixon, and then you can mix and match a little bit. You can always leave a little salary. Go 3-3 with the Bengals instead of 4-2, stuff like that. So you don't have to be too crazy. Like you still want to build your lineup and be like, all right, it tells a story and I have a chance to win. You don't want to plug in Travion Williams, Drew Sample, and then be like, all right, well, yeah, when you win all the money for sure, but you might never win doing that. So it's a happy medium.
Yeah, and tonight there's ways just to flip the builds around and still be able to play really good players and things that make sense with game script still. So I think that's more important to me tonight, is to look at it from that angle. You also mentioned it too, like Jags D projected for around 7% in the captain. I could see it. I mean, I could see 5 to 7%, maybe more, the way things have been going lately, but it does not like them at all in the captain. So it's like, again, 3% is nothing. If that comes through, not only do you likely end up on similar builds as others, but it's not something that they liked up front anyway, even in the game script that would sort of lean that way. Hoop, anything you saw with this one? If not, you could throw up a score and I'll do another one here just to run it.
Yeah, as guys were talking kind of about the Jags defense and the Mixon situation, I just ran some teams on the solver just to see. And if you go in and you just run it, like, man, the Jags D just shows up, man. Like it shows up in captain, it shows up in flex, it shows up in a big way. So I personally think that, I don't know what's the projected ownership number on them, just rough range.
We got 43 right there on run.
Yeah, I bet they come in around like 50 spot or something, to be honest with you. Like it just hits for multiple reasons. It's relatively cheap. They obviously have a good projection, and we don't have other cheap options. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out. And this isn't loving it a ton. So that's the one thing that stands out to me.
Hoop not loving the chalk D.
Oh yeah, imagine that, right? Shocker. Absolute shocker.
Incredible stuff here. Game changing.
Yeah, I will be playing some though today.
He likes McManus, McPherson, and Bengals D though. I love seeing that because I'll be in that range, and that echoes. It hasn't been the case a lot of these times. I feel like I've said someone I liked and run the Sims like, no, that's an awful play. Today it's actually kind of in line. I like it.
And maybe double kickers in play, but if it wasn't, I always note this stuff. Look, even if you don't believe these ownerships, I believe the delta. Meaning I believe that McPherson's going to come in like half the ownership of McManus. But in the Sims, it likes them almost the exact same amount. So sometimes you can just flip the build that way and get McPherson in over McManus. You can obviously play both together. You can have some lineups where it's just McManus. I get it. I'm just saying I do like seeing stuff like that when I'm looking at this. It just gives me ideas of builds where a 5-1 could become a 4-2, but it's a 4-2 with the Bengals kicker and not a 5-1 with the Jags kicker. I mean, that's definitely possible. And something as little as that can be the difference, where you're still playing a good play. And the Bengals may only score 9 points tonight, but that's 3 kicks from McPherson. Even in like a 30-9 score, there's a late one before the half. They just have to kick it. They want to get rid of the shutout early on, whatever it might be. He could start to rack them up and be the guy that you need on the other side. And then they could still have a Boyd or someone like that get 6 catches for 80 and just be needed and not be involved anything else beyond that. It's just possible. So I always look at little things like that when I'm going through it. What do you got here, Hoop, for score?
Oh, let's see. Do we want to? So we went under and Cincinnati. So let's maybe go over. Or we went under and
we went under and Jags cover.
Do you think if the Bengals win this, it's higher scoring or lower? It's like it's actually Browning dude shows up.
I don't even want to answer that question because you remember the last slate, the Dallas-Seattle. I said the only way Seattle's in this game is if it's a low-scoring type game, and that was not the case. Let's do
Gino's got to be better.
Yeah, something high scoring. I want to see just what it looks. So maybe like sure, yeah, do that one.
30-27 for the Jags. We'll run the Sims again. Let's see what this one pops out. And then any other questions, you guys can throw them in. Like this stuff, we'll see later on. Like we'll have this in the slate plan, the stuff up on the site. We'll talk through it all in the Discord, but it's tough to say. And I'm going to have a mix of a lot of these builds. I can tell you already, spoiler alert, but I'll be under on the 5-1s. I'll be way under on the 4-2s. I think some 2-4s and stuff are interesting. I think there's possibility to get to that side different ways. So let's look at this one here. So Jake Browning just flies up.
Scoring game. With the price, that makes sense. So if you like the over or something, it feels like you should just lock Brown in any script. It feels like.
Look at the captain though. 3% jumps to 17.
So, I definitely don't like it as a captain. You do, you said?
Yeah, I do for the price.
I don't.
And he has some. He's not a rusher, but he can move around a little bit. I like a little.
I think you just said the key point, though, Title. That's what I brought up earlier. The challenge with why there hasn't been these captain quarterbacks as much is because they're 12K and then they go up to 16, like 18K. Like they're way up there, $18,000 or whatever in the top. So it's like, man, then you need not only them to do what they need to do, you need the other 5 plays to fit to make sense. And that's where it gets challenging. When you've got a quarterback at this discounted rate, there's definitely a possibility where you could put him, couple pass catchers, and still get legit dudes on the Jags side and not have to figure out Sample versus Wilcox versus every other dude they got down there, Irv Smith and who's the other guy? Hudson. There's 4 tight ends, man. There's 4.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, the other thing that did stand out when I ran those teams was.
He always did like I think the old man at Christmas. I can't do that. No, I don't. Okay, go ahead.
Throw it in there real quick. The other guy that showed up a ton was Browning when I ran those teams. Just ran it without putting anything in there. He showed up a lot in captain and
how much in captain?
Oh, without changing anything, he showed up on like 20% of the teams, which I don't think I'm playing him in the captain. But he was on a ton of teams. So it is weird though when you run teams and don't change anything today, you get some different type looks.
It's because that value is so bad. Like instead of going Lawrence for their captain, and everything lands on Jags D, like you said. Like it's almost roster construction revolves around Jags D's to not fully punt anything else and make it fit.
Yeah,
I like this question too. Talking process always. Everybody always has their own way to do it. Sorry, covering up Title's face there, but it says when using Solver for single entry. First of all, not many people use Solver for single entry. I speak on this all the time. I recommend still having an optimizer. I think that's completely underrated where people say, oh, an optimizer is only for MME. It's only for that. Yeah, it's better for MME. It's helpful for that. But if you're trying to find a team and you've got some ideas, you can use the optimizer to your advantage, build it out kind of how you want it, spit out 20 teams, let's say, and then scour them. I call it virtual hand building because you virtually built them, but now you're going to put it in with hand build off the one you pick off the screen. So I actually don't hate that. It's your own process you have to come up with, but I think what you should do is get the pool that you like, get some ideas of guys you boost that you want to see pop into these lineups. And also, I said this to somebody else today, you almost always, not almost always, but a lot of the time, I will say, a majority at least, see the optimal lineup at the top of these showdown slates. It's the optimal. So you just have to play what you love and want to put your money behind. It needs to be the best lineup typically to win these tournaments. So don't be as crazy about, like Title said, don't be out there trying to find your, but I think it's going to be a Wilcox sample night. I think they're both going to get one. If they do, I'm rich. That it's way better to just flip construction, do something different than the field. Play a running back, a tight end, and no Ridley or Kirk because everyone has probably one of these wide receivers. Play only running backs, tight ends, and defense and kickers and quarterbacks. Don't play any of the other. Like you can do different angles to be able to find your way around it. So I definitely think that's something. Hoop, did you want to comment here? This is your score. Still hates. I think it literally hates Joe Mixon. Like where's he even at?
He still hated him, but a little above.
Oh yeah, he's up there still, but he's still horrible.
They still want him at 40. I mean, they still want him at 40. It's a price thing. I mean, it just goes back to the same thing is the no cheap guys.
He's even negative leverage big time in the flex though. Like they don't even like him for like the volume guy in the flex. So that is at least interesting. I think I still have interest in him more than the Sims do, but depends on how you're playing the slate. I do still think it makes sense to mix him in there, but I think it's all how you use them. So we'll see. Anything else you see here, Hoop?
Obviously the defense is, where's that Jacksonville defense? That's like a massive negative. I mean, they're gonna any sort of. I guess I can't say that because if they find the end zone, it might not matter. But any sort of build like this, the defense is obviously going to be a big time negative play with that sort of ownership. Like they're coming in as a very highly owned. And I think it ends up being higher than we even anticipate. Again, in these teams, without changing anything, showed up in 70% of my teams. Showed up in 70% of my flex and then like 12% in captain. So they were like showing up at 82% total ownership without changing anything. Now, obviously, you guys know I'm changing the shit out of that. But if you don't, it's coming in at a big boy number.
I'm going to run one more. 21-14 Jags. This is the parlay. This is the under 40, and it's the plus 10. And it's like the end of the game where one team can get it to the number and then go, or it just stays as is. I'm just curious to see how this shakes out because the chat's already in here saying like last time there's no way and all this stuff.
It's gonna love Browning, hate Mixon, hate Jags D, not like Higgins.
But I think it would be like this too, though. I think it's going to be like this type of score if that's the case. So I'm interested here to see. So you said it boosts Browning quite a bit. What was interesting to me too, I just noticed this when you said it about Mixon, like it doesn't really love anybody in the flex. It's like it's definitely loves Lawrence, and then it's just a drop off of like 50% of the time or worse for everybody. So that's something. This is very similar, by the way. This would almost look the same, pretty close, besides some kicker stuff maybe. But just to note, that's the under, or I guess that's the push on 40, and then it's the plus 10. But just to see it here, the captains are spread out too, like Lawrence. Browning's above what they think he's at. He might come in higher than 3-2, just of note. ETN about Field, Ingram about Field. It can't really, there's not a lot of conviction here besides Browning if you don't have Browning getting a late steam or a boost there. So, Title, anything you see, any final thoughts on this slate before we get out of here, man? We spent some extra time today with all the marketing talk,
yeah. I was kind of sad, not sad, but I woke up and I wasn't excited for this game. I'm like, all right, Bengals backup quarterback. Everyone's doing the same thing, but it's at least nice on the Jags side. And it's kind of like the last point you made. They just have so many guys that, or who mentioned earlier too, that can break the slate. It can be Ingram, Ridley, Zay Jones, Lawrence, ETN. And when there's so many options like that, especially on the favorite team, like you can get different. And that's why ownership will be, I think, pretty spread out, especially for a nature of a slate with one team as a 10-point favorite where everyone wants to run to that side. You can still 4-2 is by far the most popular. I'm still going to play some because I think you can still get different just because it plays Zay Jones at captain on a 4-2 build. Not many will be doing that stuff like that. So I think we touched on it well. Story of the slate, values cheeks. I'll be mixing and matching those guys once in a while if they're going to be on the field. We mentioned the Travions, the backup tight ends, etc. A lot of people want to skip that range, though. Go to those kickers, Ds. Hopefully, Jacksonville D's not optimal. Anything else, though, in that range, I like for sure. Ridley, the guy on Ridley and ETN, by far my favorite plays, though. Favorite captain plays. And then Chase and Higgins on the other side. I like Chase more, Higgins at that ownership, though. So, let's win something big.
Yeah, let's do it tonight. I got all those free memberships out to everybody. So the 3 winners, you already have access to be able to get in. If you go check your emails, you're good to go, validated, all of that on the fly. Hoopster, final thoughts for this slate? Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, hopefully we get a good game tonight. Stay hot. Obviously, big win for yourself yesterday and other members. So, keep the momentum going. It's been a hell of a ride. If you're doing 150, the one thing I will say, make sure you make some changes in there though, because man, like like I told you, those numbers, big numbers on that defense, way up there. Mixon was showing up, Browning was showing up. I'd encourage you to make some changes in the optimizer and run teams a little bit differently. But fingers crossed. Let's get a good game tonight and get some big SHIPIT Nation wins on both sides here tonight.
Yeah, excited for this one. It's going to be a good one. I know, like Title said, it's kind of how a lot of people probably felt waking up, but I definitely like this game quite a bit. And remember, Thursday is going to be a tough one. We're still going to be here. Same time as always, getting through it. Same crew, breaking it down, giving away 3 more monthly memberships. It's going to be fun. You can go right now. If you want to get into the site, go use the code TRY20. Get your first month for $49. Give it a shot and see. It's well worth the time, well worth the $1.50 a day or whatever it is to go check it out. So do that. We'll be in the Discord later. We'll have all our content going up shortly. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.